Welcome to the Winging It Travel podcast with me, James Hammond, where every Monday I'll be joined by guests to talk about their travel stories, travel tips, backpacking advice, and so much more. Right now, I'm taking the podcast on the road travelling with me, so tune in every week for short form episodes detailing all my travels alongside my Monday guest episode. Are you a backpacker, traveller, gap year student, or simply someone who loves to travel? Then this is the podcast for you. This is a casual, informative podcast designed for you to inspire you to travel. There'll be stories to tell, tips to share, and experiences to inspire. Welcome to the show. Hey, just a quick one. I just want to say there are many ways to support this podcast. You can buy me a coffee and help support the podcast with $5, or you can go to my merch store with the affiliate link with TeePublic, where there's plenty of merch available to buy, such as t-shirts, jumpers, hoodies, and also some children's clothing. Thirdly, which is free, you can also rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, or Good Pods. Also, you can find me on social media on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. Simply just search for Winging It Travel Podcast, and you'll find me displaying all my social media content for travelling, podcasts, and other stuff. Thank you. Hello, and welcome to this Friday episode. And today we're going to discuss Lebanon, which I've booked a tour in March. Can't wait for that. Polar steps and my YouTube channel update and my priorities when travelling. First of all, I'm dipping in to the travel tour world for the first time ever. I've never taken a tour in a country before. I usually turn up, wing it, and may do occasionally an afternoon or a day tour somewhere. But for an extended period of time, I'm talking days, I've never done it. So this time on my travels, I want to see, how does a tour work? How do the tour guides navigate different scenarios? Is it enjoyable? Do I like it being structured? Is there free time? It's part of my learning journey for potentially me being a tour guide in the future. So I'm looking forward to joining 100 Rotas, which is a Portuguese travel tour company, which has been recommended to me by Angela Santos. And I'm going to join Jao, who's the tour guide in Beirut. I've met him on Instagram. We're going to do a podcast episode actually during the tour, but he's going to take the tour for 9 days around Lebanon. So what am I looking forward to the most? Definitely meeting some local people, seeing some historic sites, food of course, and just kind of learning more about the country itself. I'm kind of looking forward to going somewhere that I don't know too much about. Obviously you see sometimes in the news, I don't want to hear or accept that. So I want to go and see for myself what it's like. And I think 9 days in a relatively small country is a decent amount of time. So looking forward to that. The dates I'm going is March 28th to April the 5th. And we're going to cover an array of towns and cities and places to go and see in Lebanon. I'm actually going to get to Beirut earlier on the March the 27th for potentially to meet Angela Santos, who I've never met in real life. Twice guest on this podcast. She's doing another tour with those guys and comes back to Beirut that day. So I'm hoping I'll pass or cross. We can have a quick catch up and meet. And then we kick off the tour on the 28th. We're going to a few places that has been confirmed. So Beirut, Anjar, Baalbek, Cedros de Dous, Vequadish, Tripoli, Saida and Tiro. And I'm really looking forward to seeing some of those places that I've kind of done a little bit of research on, but not too much. So this is the only thing I've booked on my travels so far. And I plan to keep it that way, really. Obviously, I booked a flight out of there to Cyprus. I'm going to meet my partner in Cyprus because she's not coming to Lebanon on that tour. And that'll be a nice little 6-7 days. Going to meet Elizabeth Tofaxis, who came onto the podcast last year. She lives in Cyprus. She's going to show us around. And also I'm going to be there for my birthday. So that'll be pretty cool as well. Like I said, they're the only things I've booked so far, apart from Paris, the first 3 nights. Then we'll be winging it all the way through. That gives us roughly around 5 weeks. So February 20th to March 27th is Europe on the Interrail Pass and an extension in Turkey, which I'm really looking forward to. So I thought I'd give you an update on that. Any questions, any tips, give me a shout. And I'm keen to see how that's going to go. Excited and a little bit nervous actually, because I'm not sure if I'm going to like being on a tour, but I've got to try something new, right? So let's do it. Okay, update for a bit of content on the podcast. I'm going to do Polar Steps, I think, which is an app where you can keep your phone tracked so you can see where I am at any given day on my travels. You can upload photos and blogs alongside each place that you're in. Looks a cool app. The court case guys are doing it for their little trip in Belfast right now. I love reading and seeing where they are. And you can see the route that they've taken. So that's pretty cool too. So I'm considering doing a bit of blogging, uploading some photos and tracking on where I am. So to give you a bit more of an immersive experience, if I can fit that in, which I'll come to in a bit. The whole point of that really is I do want to get into writing. I know I keep trying, I don't like it. But with the website coming in a few weeks and I've got affiliate links to use, I'm going to have to get in the routine of doing a weekly newsletter and kind of getting that going, because I think it's key going forward for some income. So that's going to be the start of that. And also, this app looks pretty cool and pretty modern, so it covers a few bases all at once. Keen to see if it's going to rinse the battery though, being on location all the time. So we'll see about that. YouTube. So I'm going to go live for video podcasts on February the 10th, because from then on, I'll be doing traveling pretty much all year. And I've got Greece to keep you going, and then I'll be like 2 or 3 weeks behind. Now, is that going to be possible with all the other stuff I'm doing? I'm not sure. It might go to bi-weekly, one every 2 weeks. I'm definitely doing shorts on there pretty much every day. They're easy. They're good to get listeners and subscribers and stuff like that. But the actual medium to longer content is going to be a challenge, I think. But I'm excited to do it. And they're going to be roughly 15 to 20 minutes long, those episodes. One every week is the idea. If not, it might still be half an hour to 40 minutes, but once every 2 weeks. We'll see how that goes. So looking forward to releasing a different version of the podcast, and there'll be different stuff to the audio side as well. Keep updated for that, and you can follow and subscribe Winging It Travel Podcast on YouTube today. Okay, now, as I said before, I'm not sure if I can do that sort of stuff, so I've got some priorities when traveling. And I've really had to think about this and actually prioritize what is important for you guys, the content, and also just traveling in general. What can I do? The number one priority when traveling is doing activities, seeing and doing stuff, meeting people, traveling. That is super important, and that has to be priority because that's the reason I'm going. Number two would be the audio podcast side. So this is going to be priority out of all the content because I've got most traction on this, and I feel like a connection with the audience, and I don't want to let people down. So that will be one guest episode on a Monday. Hopefully that'll be local or a Zoom guest like I do normally. And there'll be shorter form podcast episodes, probably 2 or 3 a week, of where I am and what I'm doing and some stories and tips and all that sort of stuff. So that's the idea. Number three, this will pretty much be a given as well. The Trendy Coffee Podcast, which you can subscribe to today, is only 5 to 7 minutes a week, and that's one cafe that I go to. But the fact that we're going to go for a coffee in a cafe pretty much every day of the week, I'm going to have a serious amount of content for that podcast channel. If I get time, it may be 2 a week. We'll see. But they normally take about an hour to get together. So that's not too much in terms of time. Number four is going to be the Winging It Travel Podcast YouTube account. And number five is going to be blogging, social media, and polo steps. If I can't do that, I can't do that. Social media will, of course, be updated, but I'm not going to make that too much of a priority. So you have to listen to the podcast to see where I'm at, what I'm doing, and where I'm going. Can I do all that? That's a great question. Not sure. Let me know what you think, if it's possible. I think it's a little bit too much, personally. I think number four, the YouTube account will be probably broken down into every 2 weeks. But I do understand that to get subscribers and get on the algorithm, you have to post pretty regularly. But I'm hoping the shorts will bail me out there because only 15 seconds, I think. That's what I'm going to target. And then finally, to finish off this podcast episode, we had Mikhail come on this week, who was a super guest. A bit of a shorter episode because we're pushed for time. But we covered an array of subjects. And the fact he's travelled to 110 countries, North Korea, places like this. He's a super interesting guy. With podcasting now coming up in the next year or so, I'm going to be getting stuck into video podcasts and live podcasts. So we're going to see how that goes. Quite intrigued with that. And I'm enjoying the process of getting people lined up. So that kind of wraps up today's episode, a very short one. Just thought I'd give you an update. If there's anything I'm missing or anything you want to know about my travels coming up, let me know. And there's probably going to be one or two more left of these Friday episodes before we get stuck into the travels itself. We're now wrapping up Vancouver. It's a little bit stressful trying to sell stuff, marketplace, Craigslist, all of that. So we're just trying to get that sorted for now. Thanks for tuning in. Please, can you rate and review the podcast on any platform that you use, Spotify, Apple, Google, whatever you do, Audible. Really helps the podcast. I've seen a few people rate this week, so that's been great. And I'll hit my 100th country this week who listened to it. That's Kenya. 100 was the target for end of last year, so hitting that in January this year. Super stoked about that. Let's see where I can go with that in terms of this year. Thanks for supporting the podcast. Thanks for everything you do. Really appreciate you all. And I will catch you next time. Ciao.